Is free will absolute? That's the question for today. And hello, everyone. Good morning if you're watching right now, but good day to you whenever and wherever you're watching this from. Welcome to my channel. I do obscure educational material stuff that I think is important. That you probably don't know about, or maybe you would like to know more about. And a lot of it is, crackpot science. People that spent their whole lives working on something and then came up with a magnum opus at the end of their lives that was ignored, and they died in obscurity with no money and left behind this gem of a book that it makes a great contribution, or could make a great contribution if anybody knew about it. So that's kind of my approach. But not everything that I do is just from like one individual. So, for example, today, and as for the last few months, we're going to be talking about Tree of Life. You can see this diagram. Other people might call it the Kabbalah. Same diagram, more or less, but this is a different interpretation. And then my interpretation spices it up a little bit more even. The Tree of Life has 10 different circles that are also known as spheres, and they're numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There is a thing here called the abyss to make 11, and then there's a 0 above the tree to make 12. 12 total categories, which are a lot of times described as our faculties of consciousness, or aspects or facets of consciousness, elements of consciousness, however you want to think about it. Skills of consciousness, so to speak. That might not be quite right, but it's abilities, abilities of consciousness. So to go through them quickly, 10th sphere is about our animal consciousness, survival instinct, the law of the jungle, fight or flight response, and feeding the body so that it doesn't starve. Anytime your life is threatened, you're going to end up being down here. Then as we grow up, we move into the ninth sphere, the domestic consciousness. This is the first few years of our lives where we're highly receptive to our environment. We're soaking everything up like a sponge, and we are we're devoted to following our caregivers, and so we fixate on them, and we watch what they do, and we memorize what they do, and then we imitate what they do. So the generations get passed on that way through the ninth sphere, and also to a limited degree through the eighth sphere, whereas the ninth sphere is about the domestic space, the eighth sphere is about the public space. So we move a little bit into the eighth sphere as we begin to go to school, as we begin to participate in public affairs, Little League and church and camps. But then we gradually integrate with the eighth sphere more and more as we get older. And the eighth sphere is really like the establishment, the institutions, the conventional wisdom, the paradigms. Everybody knows that. Common sense. So this is the consensus worldview, and it's a set of belief systems, and it's a system of reason, logic and reason, that justifies those belief systems. And so to the extent that we believe what we're being told, we have the ability to actually get into the A-sphere and to become part of the establishment, a junior member, to become a part of the institutions. And so the A-sphere is really where a lot of the problems start in our society, because it's not based on any type of reality. It's based on decrees. So they tell you what you're supposed to believe. They don't necessarily provide any reason for that. They provide reasons, but those reasons don't necessarily, mean that they make sense. So people that grasp that and that recognize that what they're being told is not all that there is, migrate over here to the seventh sphere to take advantage of the seventh sphere's qualities, where the eighth sphere is like the real world, the seventh sphere is like the imaginary world. So this is for people who imagine a better future, and they use other skills here at the seventh sphere, including intuition and inspiration, a pleasure principle, the process of putting things into harmonious wholes, putting things together that go together, and creating. And so they end up creating things that, including intellectual things, intellectual property things, that attempt to improve upon what's going on at the A-sphere. So they see problems with the A-sphere, they come over here, maybe they invent something that could fix something here. So this is for the artists and the inventors and the creatives, and it has to do with putting things together into wholes and to creating new things. And also the inspiration in the seventh sphere provides the impetus to lead us up the spiritual path. And so we start, we basically, we formulate some kind of a mission in life here at the seventh sphere of how we can use our skills to the greatest degree to benefit the whole. And if we have the guts or the desperation, then we begin this path moving into like learning how to maximize, how to develop these skills, how to maximize them, and then how to put them, integrate them into the universe. And so the sixth sphere is our free will faculty. So this is our ability to be free. And the free will faculty boils down to paying attention and making decisions. So as you hear, you don't have any control over what happens to you, but you have control over how you respond to what happens to you. And so we're able to exercise more control here. This is the free will ability to pay attention and to make decisions. But usually our attention is focused downward into our conditionings and our habits and even our survival. This is the comfortable place for us to pay attention because we're accustomed to these things. And so we keep our attention focused down here, but since free will includes decision making, the first decision to make on the path would be to switch around our attention, and to focus our attention on the more spiritual aspects of the world, and the more spiritual aspects of our consciousness. And so this starts here with the fifth sphere, which is our sense of justice. And so this is our you get what you deserve kind of idea. People, um, people have different ideas of justice, but this is really kind of summed up in the idea of karma. As you sow, so shall you reap. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and karma is calibrated based on waste and violence and violation. And so, if you are, creating waste or creating violence with your action, you will be returned that waste and violence in short order here, because you can kind of think of karma as having a mirror here, and so you plug you act in this direction, and you get feedback in this direction. And so when your activities are tainted by violence and waste, you'll get that feedback, and you'll be able to actually change your behavior to be less violent and less wasteful. So the fifth sphere is a lot about nonviolence, teaching us how to be more nonviolent in our lives. So the fifth sphere is basically the enforcement of the natural law. And the natural law itself is articulated here at the fourth sphere, which is, the universals, the universal law, universal love, universal language. And with the universal law, this is as a result of, centuries long, civilizations long investigations into how the world actually works, through all kinds of different ways, but observation, investigation, experimentation, experience, measurement. These are all the things that go into formulating a theory of everything, or a grand unified theory, or a religious holy book. These are systems of theory that are attempt to talk about the natural law, how things actually work. And no cosmology is going to be perfect, but the more accurate they are, the longer they last, more or less. And the important thing here is at the fourth sphere, the law is obtained by observation and investigation and measurement and experience, whereas the law, so-called, here at the eighth sphere is brought about through decree and commandment. Okay, so this is a much more true, or at least it should be, version of the law. Okay, when we move up here to the psychic powers, we're talking about the abyss representing the psychic powers, two parts: psychic receptivity and psychic heat. So the psychic receptivity is their ability to recognize omens in our lives, synchronicities, coincidences, recurring themes, just things that attract your attention as being something, an oddity. And so that's the first part, to be able to recognize that. And then the second part is to be able to act upon it. That's the psychic heat. And a lot of times that takes courage. Okay, then the third, second, and first spheres are all our divine faculties within: omnipotence, omnipotence, all powerful; omniscience, all knowing; and omnipresent, all present, eternally, all at once, everywhere. And the third sphere, we approach this through synchronized sound. We approach this basically through maybe what you would say is coherent light. And we approach, and this is all-knowing wisdom, or the ability to be able to solve all your problems, and even to avoid your problems before they happen. The second sphere does have a lot to do with anticipation and predicting the future. This is where the oracle or the divination system also fits in. But you can bypass the oracle or the divination system. Like the I Ching or the tarot cards or whatever. You can bypass that with being able to do it yourself if you become good enough at meditation. So that you're able to kind of shut the thinking mind down and to be able to approach your problems or potential problems with outside the box type of deeper thinking that has to do with form, function, interrelationship, and it has to do with just being able to see deep into your mind so that you can see the solutions to the problems. Then the first sphere is our unifying factor, where we are able to unify with others because we reach our deepest center and recognize that we are all identical at our deepest center. And so that provides a connection and with everything. And then the zero sphere is above the tree, and it's kind of like outside the universe. It is the part of the creator that the creator reserves for itself. So the creator has an existence that is outside the universe. That is the zero. It's a mystery, and it's a nothingness. Okay, so that's how you kind of think about the 12 different aspects of consciousness or abilities of consciousness. And then in my model, basically what I do is I take the whole tree, boil it down, and put it onto each one of the little spheres. So I break down for example, the seventh sphere into its 12 different aspects. So I create like mini aspects within each one of the aspects. That's what I call the stages of life. And so there's 144 of those, 12 by 12. And if you'd like me to send you out a list of those 144 fractal faculties or stages of consciousness, stages of life, which are dramatic stages, just click the link below and I'll send you a free copy. Now, every day I'm rolling out a different one of those 144 different stages. Today we're looking at stage number 125, which is located there on the first sphere in the sixth fractal of the first sphere. So we're right here. We're talking about omnipresence, all everywhere, all at once, in our at our deepest center. That's a unifying factor, and then you're combining it with this aspect of free will. The ability to pay attention and to make decisions. And so these are kind of the parameters or the different factors that are factoring into this particular stage. Number 125 is free will absolute. Stage number 125, called involuntary and voluntary merge, IVM. Stage number 25 is about taking over for one of our involuntary processes and or surrendering our free will to the creator or higher self. Take no thought for our lives. God comes and gives us the words in the hour we need them. But we made it happen, so it's voluntary. The higher self runs the nearly infinitely complex functions of the body, physiological processes. The word that came to dwell in the flesh, the higher self, is limited to running the involuntary and subconscious functions of our being. But the word can be expanded if we choose to surrender. The initiate does not use symbols or other meaningful content, but pays attention to the rise and fall of the abdomen, the parasympathetic breathing, At this stage, it's up to us, and it starts with breathing. The first sphere is submerged under the subconscious. It emerges like a bubble coming to the surface. The indwelling intelligence knows how to run our lives perfectly. The involuntary part of the body provides vital support, supplies blood, clears waste. Our lives are governed. Our lives are structured. 6 circles around one. Exactly. Geometry is structured. Space is structured. You can't put 7 circles around one. You can't put 5 circles around one, or 5.5, or 5.8. It's 6 circles fit exactly around one. And they're in between a Star of David in the vector equilibrium, the VE, which is a cell of the IVM. So we're merging the VE, the vector equilibrium, with the IVM, which is the universal isotropic vector matrix. Transcending free will. Addition of free will. Free will merges with divine will. By choosing to align free will with divine will within. The indwelling intelligence knows all, including how to run our lives perfectly, allow, learn how, witness how, experience how, then attempt to repeat, then imitate consciously, intentionally, even on the cellular genetic level. If we respond faster now, we can intercept, we can nip the unwanted reflexive behaviors before they can even manifest. So the involuntary also includes reflexive and conditioned and unconscious behaviors. Functions of the spirit that can be altered at will through meditation. Emotional coercion overcome with the menab, the method, which is in with the abdomen, simultaneously bring the attention back to its rise and fall, and ignore the guilt response for allowing the attention to drift in the first place. Stay off all content. Just pay attention to the rise and fall of the abdomen, which is powered by breathing. Big me over little me. Getting our local vector equilibrium hooked up to the universal isotropic vector matrix, IVM, involuntary and voluntary merge. Supreme Being, the All, cannot have experience but through us. Let go and let God. Okay, that is number 125, involuntary and voluntary merge, IVM. And that is the 6th fractal of the first sphere. Although I've moved it around a little bit. At one point it was at the 9th fractal of the first sphere, and I think it was in the abyss of the first sphere. And so this isn't all set in stone. There are certain aspects here that are kind of 9th sphere related, but right now it's in the 6th fractal of the first sphere. That may not even be what it says on the in the list of the 144. And you can, so that's another reason why you would want me to send you a free copy of that list, because then you can keep score at home and you can see the evolution of the list as we go through time. So anyway, just thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. And please click the like button, share and subscribe. And again, get that list of 144 fractal faculties. My Cash App and Venmo addresses are also on there if you'd like to shoot me if you got a lot out of this and you want to show your appreciation. Otherwise, just stay tuned for future videos in this series, and probably be rolling another one out tomorrow. So keep that in mind and have a great day.